So thank you everyone for joining today. We're really excited to go through the subject matter about increasing user adoption. And what I'd like to do is start with the agenda and kind of run through what we'll be going over today. So we'll get to introductions here in a minute. There'll be three of us that will be presenting and taking you through the next 30, 45 minutes. I'm really excited to have Becky Bracey on the line, though. She's with Coim USA. And Becky and I will be going through kind of their their journey, our journey, working with them along the way, and how she's kind of gotten to the point of her lovely number of an increase of 215% in user adoption. And we'll also have Tom on the line as well, and he'll be going through the future. We're going to look a little bit at AI, kind of what you may need to do, kind of what does it mean, and that sort of thing. And then we'll end the call with just kind of a recap and going over any questions anybody has. Feel free to go ahead and add them in the chat if any come up during our presentation. So if you want to go ahead and flip to the next slide, Rachel. So introduction. So I'm Julie Brandt, Senior Account Executive with Ascend. And I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem actually going in my 17th year. And one of my passions as well, from other than sales, is really to see teams and companies excel with Salesforce and see how far we can take it and get users excited about it as well. We have Tom that will be on the line as well, and he's our sales engineer. He's been in the Salesforce arena for about 10 years and is our sales engineer. He does all of our scoping and really handles the technology side and keeping us up to speed and up to the knowledge. And then Becky is with Coim, and she's been in the chemical manufacturing area for around 22 years. And she likes to work a lot in the marketing area, but also on business processes, improving efficiencies across the board. And a little bit about Ascend Technologies, maybe for those of you that may not know who we are. We are a full service IT services company, and we also have our more or less department that specializes in the Salesforce area. And as far as the different types of engagements that we do with folks, we do projects, we do managed services. We also have embedded experts, like folks that can sit on your team for a number of hours per week, on a weekly basis, as long as you need them, and also advisory and consulting services. And what really we feel that sets us apart is we have very strong industry experience, really across all industries, but a big part is financial services, manufacturing, and companies in those arenas. And then our technical depth. I've been here 16 years, like I said, going on 17, and a lot of folks have been here as long as I have and just really go deep and broad with what they know as far as technically. And then business first mindset. We really like to engage with our customers and really get to know their business. And our motto or mantra is really, we respectfully challenge you throughout the way. And then we're fast and flexible, and we'll go as fast as you want us to without sacrificing, any efficiency and kind of success. So that's kind of who we are. We're headquartered in Chicago as well. Go ahead. And where we're going to start with this will be Becky and Julie kind of going through the next couple slides. And what I'd like to do is have Becky start off and give a background on Coim, and also kind of just a snapshot of their journey so far.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, everyone. Becky Bracey. And just a little bit about Coim. Coim's a multinational, family-owned chemical manufacturer. We make polyester polyols, polyurethane prepolymers, and some polyurethane adhesives here in the U.S. We are global and headquartered in Italy, near Milan, Italy, and our headquarters here in the U.S. is actually out of New Jersey. So that was a lot of chemical words, but more so what's important is where our products go into. So our products can go into everything from commercial roofing to spray foam, flexible foam, maybe some elastomers, which are like forklift tires or golf balls or skate wheels. And then also into the flexible packaging. So adhesives and flexible packaging, anything in your grocery store shelves would be that flexible packaging, as well as then adhesives and more durable materials like doors or woods or RVs, that kind of a thing. And then also our materials go into more of an industrial coatings perspective around everything from fertilizers that would need a time release to maybe aerospace and automotive. So just a few of the industries that we touch, but kind of gives you an idea of what our products go into. So that's a little introduction into COIM and to kind of talk about our journey. So I had worked with Ascend as my Salesforce partner at both my previous employer as well as now at COIM to work on projects to just enhance our Salesforce org. So same as my previous employer, COIM started with an alternative partner to create their original Salesforce org. But unfortunately, the product in that regard was pretty half-baked. I use that term. It had really good starting ideas, but maybe they weren't 100% finished or working properly when they rolled out. And so, and some of it just didn't take into account how the user really worked or would work in the tool. So about 2 years ago, I was brought on to COIM. Where part of my responsibilities was to enhance the Salesforce, because honestly, COIM was at the point where they were either going to completely quit Salesforce and move away from it because they just weren't seeing the return on their investment, or they were going to fix it and make it work for them. And that was more of the US. So just to kind of give you an idea, we have one global org for Salesforce. We have 4 regions that use it. And within each region, there are multiple business units that sell and interact and sell different products and interact differently with all their customers. So quite a complex org to all be in one. But when I first came on to COIM, everyone was using the same org. Everyone was using the same objects, the same functionality, everything. So it was the desire of the US term for us to make it work for us, because they had decided they wanted to, that Salesforce was worth the time and effort to enhance it.
Thank you. Thanks, Becky. So when you were doing that and, we were working together, what you've kind of mentioned, maybe a couple are leading into it, but as far as the challenges, what would you say maybe were the biggest challenges? And then, how did it impact your org?
Yeah. So especially the challenges around working with a global org, like I mentioned, not all the regions, not all the business units work the same. And the nice thing about Salesforce that I had learned in my previous life was that Salesforce can be used in a more out of the box scenario, but then you can also customize it to make it work for you. So since not all the regions and the business units sell the same or even interacted with our ERP system exactly the same, there were slight nuances around that. Also, politically speaking, everybody knows in all organizations there's some sort of politics. So it's managing the global needs and the global direction with the needs and wants of our local team. The US team had picked up the Salesforce. They were globally, they were the highest user base already, even though our user adoption was still pretty minimal. And so there wasn't a strong driver globally to make any improvements at that time. Also, we do connect to our ERP system. The original Salesforce partner had chosen a connection tool that wasn't in the state it was, in the basic state that it wasn't as reliable. And also our business units account for customers in a different way in our ERP system. And so all of this complexity really just led to challenges. And the impact of those challenges were, a couple of things. They did had incomplete scoping of how the user would use the tool. First and foremost, they had insufficient testing before the tool was rolled out. So that's where we got kind of that half-baked scenario. And then last but not least, all of that led to, an unreliable, inconsistent, lack of trust from the user base. So
Okay, thank you. And then also, as far as the initial state, which we have some things noted here, but anything that you would want to add about kind of what the initial state kind of was like?
yeah, yeah, of course. So I mean, there were a couple of different drivers for us wanting to move forward. And I would say, like, when we met with you guys, we had initial goals that we wanted to achieve. And we continue, as we've gone through the enhancement project, to come back to those goals and make sure that we're staying in alignment with those. So, first of all, was kind of these fragmented processes a bit. So there were multiple ways to communicate, especially customer centric information. And so we said, hey, how do we streamline that? How do we bring all the customer interactions into one tool? Probably my main focus and my main desire was to make sure that we broke down that lack of trust in the tool.
Hmm.
So, how do we make sure that we have data integrity? How do we make sure that it's reliable? And, because nothing had really been updated since the first rollout. So, it was, and so they didn't really trust, well, if it doesn't work now, how are they really going to fix it? Those kind of things. And so um, that. The other thing around that was, like I had mentioned, they didn't really take the user case in mind. So how's the user going to use it? Or even more so, like, you should always look at the end result, where you want to end, and say, okay, how do I get there? Because if you don't know how you're going to use the information out of Salesforce, you don't know how to drive what you do in Salesforce. So, and I think working with Ascend, you guys always started with, okay, what are we trying to achieve here? What's your main goal in this? And so I started my journey at Coin by first interviewing all my users. So I interviewed salespeople, I interviewed technology people, I interviewed managers, everything. And I asked everybody the same questions: what's good? What's bad? And what could make it better? So there definitely were common themes that emerged. And that's kind of what drove our enhancement project with Ascend. But ultimately, always asking ourselves, okay, what do we want to achieve? And then working our way backwards in order to make sure that we get the end result that we want.
Yep, and kind of
Um,
how do we get there? And I think one thing you said
yeah,
too that I like was it's hard to make, or you only can have one chance to make your first impression. So
yes.
when you lose that trust initially, it's hard to come back and do another first impression. So
Yeah.
um,
And I would say the other thing, that the last thing really that was probably the most difficult was, they were fragmented processes, but they were also a lot of external ones. So we had used Excel, for example, for all of our market share tool. And, we have all of this information on the account in there. Why not also bring our market share data in there so that we can create reporting and at a fingertip call up, if we know we have an advantage on this particular product, in this particular market, we can pull up who we should go after. And then it has the contacts in there, all of those things. So that's just one tool that we use to enhance. And utilize pricing is another big tool that we brought in, and really started actively using to drive traceability, transparency, history, communication, all of those things. So, and yeah, so those are just some of the external processes that we also brought in. And we like that you can track it real time. I wanted to bring up the real time part because sometimes you have, if it's an ever living tool, you can constantly see that update. So yeah.
perfect. Okay, and I think you've commented, here the last one on this is really more, what how is partnering with us really help transform your org? And I think you've kind of already kind of touched on that, but anything that you'd want to add to kind of our partnership along the way?
Yeah, so long story short, we went with Ascend. One, I've used them previously, but I've also talked to other partners, potential partners about this. And the one thing why I chose Ascend was because I needed someone to guide us through what we were looking at. And our team of Julie and Hannah and other users, or excuse me, other members of the Ascend team would, you know, Julie had said in the beginning, respectfully challenge. Well, they would tell us, yes, you can do that, but these are the do's and, or these are kind of the pros and cons around that. They always kept in mind trying to keep our org as simple as possible to maintain ongoing. And I will say they do a good job of not offering a Cadillac when you could have a Chevy. So it's a little bit of a you know, yeah, just meaning that they didn't over complicate things. They always try to come at it from the most simplistic manner, but answer our results and get our results.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. And we'll go and go to the next slide and talk a little bit about strategies. But I should mention I do drive a Chevy, so maybe that's why we're
No.
keeping it Chevy. So, never driven a Cadillac. So let's talk a little bit about the key strategies. Again, we've kind of some of this kind of overlaps, and we've talked a little bit about it. But I believe having executive sponsorship is a huge success factor. If you have one, it helps tremendously. So maybe tell us a little bit about that and your organization, kind of how leadership is involved with the Salesforce implementation.
Yeah, I mean, the idea to enhance the tool to meet the user's needs came from the top down. They said they saw potential in Salesforce and wanted to use it. Their endorsement and driving, for example, our president, who I report into, but so does, all the business units and et cetera, from a Coim USA perspective, he reads and comments on all the chatter updates that are done by the salespeople, by the technology people within the communication tool within Salesforce. And so just showing that he's in there, he's reading it, he's paying attention, helps drive that user adoption.
Okay, great. And then you talked a little bit about this on the previous slide, but really listening and adapting. So love what you did as far as talking to the different end users, management, et cetera. So if anything else you want to kind of add to that from when you were interviewing them, that type of thing.
No, I mean, they just all really shared like a lack of trust, I would say. And so we knew that we had to get quick wins in. Um, and so I knew that as we started our enhancements project, I went to Julie and the team and said, hey, I need some quick wins here. I need some things that are going to make a big impact, but will take kind of little effort. One of those being, for example, our activity reports. And these are the way that we communicate throughout the organization. And we improved the way that the user can use it. You can now relate opportunities to it, relate contacts that are in there, relate products of interest that they have. And so it really, and the best part about it was also it improved the mobile app. So most of our team is on the road pretty much all the time. And so the mobile app as well was really important for us.
Okay. Yeah. And I just think it's huge. You've got to listen. It's a two-way street. And I think the more you can do that and make it work for everyone, it's a win-win situation. So as far as company-wide communication, I know my mantra is always, if users, salespeople, whoever, service, they're putting the information somewhere. So let's put it, kind of in one spot. And I think you've really realized the result of that, and if you can tell everybody a little bit about kind of how it's used company wide, or at least how they can get information at their fingertips.
Yeah, so we use the chatter feature a lot too. We have created groups in there. And these are made up of sales, customer service, basically technology, also supply chain members. So our production manager and facilities manager are are in this. Our CFO is in this, members of the accounting team. So it's a way for us to get it to the right information to the right people all at one time. Inevitably, in email, you're going to forget someone. So, and it's hard to search, later on in email for what you're trying to find. This way, it's all in the customer. So,
Okay, perfect. And I think that really helps too, not just with your internal experience, but with your customer experience. I think it helps with how your folks are dealing with the customers, and they're very knowledgeable about what's going on. As far as process integration, you talked a little bit about bringing some of the processes into Salesforce. Kind of maybe the highlights there. Maybe recap on what kind of where you received the biggest win, I guess.
yeah. So we wanted to make Salesforce kind of our one-stop shop around customer interaction. And I would say our biggest wins around that process integration is I talked about the market share tool pricing. So pricing was coming into managers. It wasn't documented properly. We're just introducing a new enhancement to even build onto that, to build on quotations on there and stuff. And that's the nice part about a Salesforce org that we've enjoyed, is that as we continue to grow and as we continue to, you get those small main projects, but then you figure out, oh yeah, this could really help us also if we bring this part of it in and stuff. So we're continuing to look at external, and I use the term external, but external of a system. So it's a Word doc, it's being sent via email or via Teams, etc. And it just brings it all into one space.
Perfect. Well, I mean, selfishly biased, I don't know. I just love what you guys have done. And I think what I love is that you are, again, listening. I like to say, remove any excuses and trying to get everybody on the bus without them knowing you're trying to get them on the bus, I think can go a long way. So we're going to kind of digress here for a minute, and we're going to talk a little bit about AI, and then we'll come back to kind of recap Coim's journey. So we'll go ahead to the next slide, and Tom, I'll let you kind of take it from here on kind of the future and educate us all a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Julie. Becky, I appreciate you sharing some insights of the work that we've done with your team. It's been a great partnership thus far. One of the things that we are working on with the Coim team is taking advantage of AI and the features that are constantly being enhanced by Salesforce. And it's been a focus of ours recently to say, what is available and how can you leverage it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, like, where do you start? AI is certainly a buzzword. It's showing up at all the Salesforce conferences and certainly tons of webinars that they host on it. And so I'll talk about some of the steps in starting to leverage AI. The first step is analyzing your existing data. So with any AI features, and I'm going to use Einstein for sales today as an example. With any AI features, there's typically data requirements that you need to meet to build your AI models. If not, there's typically global models available to you. So for example, if you want to use Einstein opportunity scoring or Einstein lead scoring, the first step is to say, do I meet the criteria to build a custom model? Do I have 200 closed won and closed lost opportunities in the last 24 months? For leads, for example, do I have 1,000 leads created in the last 200 days? And do I have 120 leads converted in the last 200 days? So analyzing your existing data is the first step to say, at what capacity can I take advantage of the AI features I'm interested in? And then the next step is defining your data adoption plan. So even before you start to leverage AI, there are scenarios where certain fields, whether they're standard fields or certain objects that you're not leveraging, you want to take a look at, is there an opportunity for us to start populating some of these fields, start leveraging some of these objects to get data in there, and really open up the doors to what you can take advantage of with AI. So, once you define the features you're interested in, whether it's Einstein for sales, for service, you really want to say, okay, from an end user perspective, where can we start to adopt more of the data to really increase the effectiveness of the AI features that you leverage? And the next key step in rolling out any sort of AI feature on the Salesforce platform is to establish your goals for the AI features that you're interested in, and who do they impact. So do your goals impact your sales users, your end users? Do they impact leadership? Do they impact marketing? Sales users, for example, you can use Einstein coaching, email insights to get insights from client emails, or even conversation insights. Leadership, leveraging features like Einstein forecasting to get a better idea of what is truly going to come in from our pipeline in this quarter, in the next quarter. How effective is that forecasting model compared to just traditional forecasting that you were leveraging before? And then on the marketing side, of course, using things like campaign insights to really measure the success of those insights. So defining what you're going to implement and who's going to be impacted, that's really going to help establish your goals for your AI rollout. And then certainly you're going to want to implement those AI features. You don't want to implement everything at once. You do want to, like anything else in the Salesforce ecosystem and with your platform, develop a crawl, walk, run approach. What is our crawl features that we want to take advantage of? What is our walk and what is our run? And then that's ultimately going to help you decide, with the current licenses I have available, what can I take advantage of? What do we want to budget for in the future in terms of potential add-on SKUs that open up the doors for additional AI capabilities that we didn't have? And then the last piece, which is really, really important, is measuring and refining. So you want to take a look at what is the effectiveness of the lead and opportunity scoring models, for example. Are we, as a team, are we sifting through tens of thousands of leads, and because of the lead scoring model, we're now appropriately allocating our time to leads that are much more, let's say, warm in terms of potential buying prospects? Are the opportunity scoring models driving our visibility into what opportunities are truly going to close and when? Is that helping us with resource planning on the back end if you're in professional services, or even in the manufacturing, retail, consumer goods space, in terms of understanding what inventory you need on hand? And then ultimately, from a measuring perspective, you want to look at what's the impact on some of the routine dashboards that your team leverages, leadership dashboards, management dashboards. Are you starting to get more insights, drive better discussions internally, and really have more impactful data in front of you with the introduction of some of the AI features available? So ultimately, when it comes to rolling out any sort of AI features on the Salesforce platform, you really want to focus on your data and what capabilities are available there, and then establish those goals, who they're going to impact, and what you're going to implement, and the desired outcomes. And then as you develop any sort of AI model, measuring and refining the model criteria over time is certainly going to be something that allows you to continue to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of the models.
Thank you, Tom. And again, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. So we'll go ahead and look at kind of the key takeaways and kind of recap, and then we'll answer any questions. So it's interesting with Tom going through the AI piece, a lot of that kind of leads to, Salesforce implementations too, right? Aside from, AI. But I think with kind of the key takeaways, ongoing investment, I've been doing this a long time, and I've just, I have seen customers where they get excited, they get up and running, but then it goes stagnant, right? And it doesn't keep moving with the changing of their company, of their business, of the outside, influences, that type of thing. So I think it's just really important to kind of not only maintain, but continue to grow based on your needs and your changing business. And you're always wanting to design it or keep it growing so that it's scalable for that growth, or downsizing, whatever is happening within your company and industry. As far as the insights, that kind of goes back to, the executive sponsorship. That's huge. You can't, you need that, number one. What Becky did, she listened to her users, listened to the good, bad, the ugly, listened to their wish list and did what we could. We did it as a team. And I know one of her guys, I won't mention his name in case he listens to this, but um, he was tough. I mean, starting out, it's like, they'd been a little burned before. I hate to say it, but kind of had to win him over and have him see the possibilities. And Becky knows what I'm talking about. See the possibilities, see the vision of what could happen, but also get those quick wins in so that they started to develop trust in the system and in us as a partner. Also, um, she mentioned, the internal, looking at your external processes and getting those in. So I think that's a good insight or something to take away as well. As far as acting now, again, been doing it a long time. It's never the right time to start, right? It is work. You have to roll up your sleeves, and really dig into it, especially doing enhancements or an implementation. But I think what we try and do is, we definitely guide you, challenge you, but also try and be as efficient as we can with your time too. But just know that there's never the right time, kind of like starting a diet, right? Never the right time. Next Monday. But anyway, and I know some of the stuff today, it's not like, wow, this is super exciting. It's nothing flashy, but it's really the base of what you need to grow on. So, we almost need some fireworks or something going on to show, but it's not a big wow factor, um, at first sight, but I think it really will help you down the road. So that's kind of what we have for today, as far as, kind of going over Coim's journey with Ascend, and they're really on their way and doing really well. So I'll go ahead and look at the questions and see what questions we have. It's about 11:30. So one question: how long does it typically take to see measurable results once you kind of take on the Salesforce optimization? So
Yeah,
I'll kind of defer to
absolutely.
Tom for these.
And that's a great question. Any Salesforce optimization that you do, the focus is time to value. So you should see measurable results immediately. And as through a well architected, simple process, as time goes on and you're adopting it, those results should essentially continue to grow until they've reached their maximum in terms of ROI, and then you're ready to tackle the next phase of your implementation or next enhancement to really start to see more measurable results. So the answer is immediately, and any strategic Salesforce partner like Ascend Technologies is really going to focus on that time to value. How quickly can we deliver the right solutions, and how quickly can your team start to see the value from those solutions delivered?
Sounds good. And then how do we ensure that changes will be adopted by our users?
Yep, that's another excellent question. Managing adoption is available in multiple ways on the Salesforce platform. There's plenty of reports and dashboards that you can build custom to really understand if your team is adopting the new features. And then there's also Salesforce offers some great lab apps with pre-built reports and dashboards to measure adoption. So anytime that you're implementing a new feature, you want to define how can I measure that with the platform, let's say events that are captured and reportable, and then you want to build, a set of reports and dashboards to manage the use or to um, uh, understand the user adoption of those features over time. Not everything available or every feature available on the platform you'll be able to measure, but for the most part, Salesforce has a very strong reporting engine and audit log of user activity that you can leverage to get those insights through reports and dashboards.
Julie, if I could just add that
Sure.
from a user perspective, it was really important to also that listening and getting them those quick wins, so they seeing in progress, and that you have heard them and that you're acting upon that is, from getting our users up. That 215% was, over our whole project, but it really was that we took their user cases in mind and did that. So yeah, we were able to track that obviously through reports and stuff, but really listening to them was what's most important for us getting those numbers.
Sounds good. And I always like to say, it's the good news, bad news on Salesforce. The good news is it's easy to use, easy to change. The bad news is it's easy to use, easy to change. So I think what you guys really did too, and I think we didn't really mention this, but I think it's really important to have a governance committee, or that, changes are really fleshed out, and the due diligence around those, not just make a change to make a change,
Yes.
So it's kind of a domino effect. So, okay, it looks like we have one more question and then we'll kind of wrap up for the day. What are the first steps we should take if we're interested in doing an optimization?
Absolutely. That's another excellent question. Certainly, the first step is to work with a strategic consulting partner to understand where you can optimize your org. You can find a consulting partner through the App Exchange, or even working with your account executive. And the sales team doesn't like this, but I always recommend speaking with at least two partners. Why? Because every partner is going to take a different lens in how to optimize your Salesforce org. It's not always cut and dry what the solution is or what the approach is, especially if you have multiple requirements, or the requirements are completely unknown. It's just, hey, Salesforce isn't working out as we intended. What can we do to fix it? So working with a strategic consulting partner that's going to have that business first mindset. What is your business processes? What is the gap between your current platform and where you're trying to go? And then really being strategic and recommending the right approach is going to be the first step. Getting that high level roadmap of what you need to do from 1 to 2 consulting partners is really going to allow you to see not only what you can do internally, what you can do with a partner, but also see the differences in terms of expertise and the recommendations there, really opening up your team to make the right decision on who to partner with moving forward.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Tom. Well, that's what we have for today. So I hope you guys have learned a little bit here and there, and reach out if you have any questions. Would love to talk to you. And huge thanks to Becky and to Tom for being my co-host, and have a great rest of your day. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.